Hi friends, welcome back to Homestead on a Prayer. As you can see, today we're outside and we're going to be working in the chicken coop. Now our goal for today is to make and install a better chicken waterer than what we have right now. I'm going to show you what we have right now. So you can see this waterer here. It's kind of like the basic, really cheap entry-level chicken waterer. So we're fairly new to keeping chickens. So when we got started, we just got the basic, cheap, easy chicken waterer that's really easy to find everywhere. And it does have a couple advantages. The first, as I mentioned, it is really cheap. So it's a great way to get started, kind of get used to having chickens and see, like as you have it, you kind of learn what's going to work better for you. So it's a fine one to start with. The other advantage is that it's really easy to use. I mean, you basically just unscrew the top, fill it with water. The chickens come and drink out of that little reservoir there. It's pretty easy and straightforward. It doesn't weigh very much, so it's pretty easy to hang from the ceiling up there. But it has some major disadvantages. One is that it has to be refilled really often. It holds about a gallon of water, I think maybe 5 quarts of water, something like that. We have 8 chickens, so they go through that really fast. So we have to refill it at least once a day. If it's a really hot day, sometimes we have to refill it more than once, which isn't altogether a bad thing because it is good for the chickens to have their water refreshed regularly. But it's a problem. Like, for example, this weekend, we're going camping. We're going to be gone for 2 days, and that waterer is not going to hold water for our chickens that long. And so that is why we're doing this project now, because we want them to be able to, obviously, have enough water while we're gone without having to pay someone to come watch them for us. So that is the one major disadvantage. The other one is that, as you can see, it's all open. If you have any experience with chickens, you know that one of their all-time favorite things to do is scratch around and kick stuff in the air. So that water gets pretty gross pretty fast. So that is another problem that we're trying to solve today. So my husband, Dan, is going to be making a new chicken waterer for us. We are trying to do this as cheaply as possible, as easily as possible, and hopefully still really effectively.
Okay, so I have everything here that I think I need at the moment anyway. We have the 5-gallon bucket. It's food grade, so there won't be any leaching of BPA or any of that into the water for our chickens. It is a 5-gallon bucket, and we are planning on using these chicken nipples here. We're going to drill these into the bottom of the bucket. It's better for the chickens. It's easier for them to drink, because now they're going to be lifting their heads up to the nipples here. It's easier for them to actually swallow the water, and also keeps the water much cleaner because they can't get anything into the bucket. But we'll show you how that all works when we're done here. So we have these. I got my drill. I have some S-hooks here. This is going to connect the bucket to our chain. It's going to hang from the ceiling, and we have this eye bolt here, which I'm going to use. I'm afraid our current brackets won't be strong enough to hold about 40 pounds of water. So this will do the trick. This will hold up to, I think, like 200 pounds. And then I have my 3/8 drill bit here for the actual chicken nipples to drill into the bottom of the bucket. And then I have some tin snips and a channel lock as well. So I guess I'm gonna get started here and see how it goes. So this is one of the chicken nipples here. Very easy to install. When I first got them, and I'm not a big person on reading instructions, unfortunately, I was assuming that you'd have to unscrew this apart in order to attach it, but as you see here, there's actually a gasket here. So you literally, once you drill the hole, you just screw this right in, finger tight, and in theory it shouldn't leak and it should do the trick for us. So I guess I'm going to start here, and we're going to put a total of 4 in. I'm just going to put one on each side of the bucket, and yeah, that's what we're going to do. And I think I'm just going to space it out probably like 1.5 inches from the edge. So I'll test the first one here. That does seem awfully easy. Just make sure that gasket's seated correctly. I'm a little worried about the first one I did there. I might adjust that one slightly. There we go.
All right, so maybe should we test it and make sure it's watertight?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, so we're going to fill this up with water and test it.
So we had 2 leak, very slow drip, so I just retightened them, and we're gonna see how it goes this time. Problem is, I think I just didn't have them quite tight enough, so this time hopefully we get slightly better results here.
All right, so it looks like we're good this time. I think tightening them up did the trick. So how it works here, see this little, basically the chickens will peck at this and it drips water down, and then they just drink it from underneath. So we're gonna have to teach our chickens how to use this. So hopefully our chickens are smart and quick learners. We'll find out, I guess. All right, so you wanna tell us what you're doing in here?
Yeah, so I'm gonna take down this bracket. Technically, if I was to flip this bracket over, it might be strong enough to hold the water. But I don't have a ton of confidence in it, and I don't want this thing falling down and hurting any of the chickens. So I'm gonna use the other bolt that I have, and I'm just gonna drill through here, screw it into here, and I'll just let it hang basically in the same spot. So first off, I'm going to take this down and then drill the hole. So this is the actual eye bolt I'm going to be using. I'm just going to stick this through over here. Basically just tighten the nut here real good. And that's going to be really secure once I have it tightened. And no worries about that breaking loose or anything. We got it in there real good now. And now I'm just going to try to measure out the chain. And this will be a little bit of a challenge. I've never actually hung a bucket from a chain before, and I'm concerned about it getting wobbly or sliding around. So we'll see how this all works. I have a working theory on how to do it. Should keep the bucket stable, and I guess we'll find out. You can see here with the old waterer, we have this little notch right here. They can easily hang the water from, and it's not going to slide around. If I was to put a single hook on this bucket here, I feel like things could get tippy and kind of precarious. So I have these S hooks, and I'm going to try to have an S hook on either side here, connected by a chain, connected to the main chain going up to the roof, or up to the rafter, I should say. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So I've estimated the amount of chain that I need. So I'm just going to cut it here. Technically, these aren't probably really the right tool for cutting chain, but it works. Should have some chain cutters, but I actually don't find myself cutting chain all that often. So we got our length of chain here. So I got my channel locks here. Now I'm going to try to close the loop here. There we go. So that's one end. And to be honest with you, that bent closed easier than I thought it was going to.
Here, bring it on over for a close-up. This is your close-up chance, Dan.
So there we go.
Yeah, that looks good.
So we're going to have this kind of system here. And then the main chain, I'm going to connect to this point. And in theory, the bucket should be really solid.
Looks good to me.
So now, I have no idea the right height for the chickens. So it's gonna be a little bit of trial and error.
So it's been a few days with our chicken waterer. We're back from our camping trip. The chickens did great while we're gone. So we just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update about how everything's going and fill you in with a little bit of the how-to details.
So here's our chain. This is how we're gonna actually hang the bucket. And I used S-hooks. We'll actually rest the handle of the bucket on the S-hooks here. And I used the channel lock to squeeze these closed so you don't have an issue of the chain falling off. But basically we have our 2 points of contact with the bucket. And then I had a carabiner here. I'm not sure exactly the best way, if it's better to just hook from here and just keep removing the bucket from the S-hooks, or if you just use the carabiner. I guess we'll kind of figure that out as we go along. And then we have the chain going all the way up to here, and then another S-hook. And I use the channel lock to secure the S-hook up here. So now I will hang the bucket. If you have this entirely full, I mean, it's going to be around 40 pounds. But right now, we probably have it half full. Fairly simple. So there you have it. Pretty easy job. The only thing I'd be mindful of is when you drill the holes for the chicken nipples, I'd make sure the holes are clean. The nipples only really need to go in hand tight. And the other thing I'd be mindful of is not really mounting the nipples where there's any stamped lettering in the plastic on the bottom of the bucket. That would possibly make it a little bit more difficult for the nipples to seal, and they may leak a little bit. I think we ran into that a little bit. I was able to fix it just by tightening them a little bit more, so that wasn't really that big of a deal. But I guess that's what I would be on the lookout for if I was to do it again. So removing the bucket is easy, much easier actually when it's fairly empty. But basically we have the 2 S-hooks here, and you just lift up and pops right off.
Okay, so one issue that we did find with this waterer is that when you take it off of the chain to fill it, and then you set it on the ground, basically the nipples stick out of the bottom, and so when it gets heavy with water, and then even more when you go to press the lid on, it kind of sinks into the dirt, which we obviously don't want. So the way that we're getting around that right now is we set it on a cinder block, and then you use the cinder block as a surface to give yourself leverage to really push the lid in. So we are working on coming up with some more long-term solution, kind of a way that we can refill this without removing the lid, and then we would only have to take it down to actually clean it. So we're still working out the details on that. That'll probably be kind of a part 2 to this video, so stay tuned for that. So I can just kind of use this as leverage to attach the lid of the bucket. So as far as teaching the chickens to use the waterer, it was actually pretty easy. Once one chicken figures it out, the others will catch on pretty quickly just from watching that chicken. So you can either take one of your most docile, friendliest chickens and kind of bring them over and tap their beak to the waterer so that they see that water comes out of it. Another option, which is what I did, I brought the chicken over. I kind of tapped my finger on one of the nipples while the chickens were right there. They hear that tapping sound, and it sounds to them like a chicken beak tapping, and that makes them just curious to check it out and see what it is. So I did that. Another thing that I tried was I put just a tray underneath it, and I would tap it when they were right there, and they would see the water dripping onto the tray. And I think that kind of helped them realize that that's where their water comes from too. So all in all, it was pretty easy to teach the chickens to use it, and now they seem to really like it. Their water stays so much cleaner, so we've been really happy with the chicken waterer so far. All right guys, so thank you so much for joining us. We hope that this is helpful for you. If you have chickens, this is a great option for a waterer. So far we've been really happy with it. And our chickens seem to be happy with it too. All right, so that's it for this video. We hope you guys are having a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye, guys. See you later. All right, so that's it for this video. We hope you guys are having a great day, and we hope to see you soon. Bye, guys.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
later.
My hand blocked your face.
Yeah, maybe we should redo that.